Hello, hello, my friends. It's Wade Heath for the Kingdom Report, back with you once again for another installment of Walt Disney World in Pandemic. This, of course, is the first-hand experience, the first-hand knowledge that we provide you on our trips to Walt Disney World during this very unique time. Unique indeed, as Walt Disney World is celebrating the holidays. This is traditionally the busiest time of year for Disney parks from coast to coast. And they've also increased capacity out in Walt Disney World at this point. But before we can get out there, we start here at Los Angeles International Airport, where it certainly seems awfully quiet, certainly seems very, very silent in all these terminals. That would change in just a couple of minutes. But one thing I wanted to mention is you never want to miss an update from us. You never want to miss any of this coverage. And this is part of a much bigger series, of course. We've already done all the theme parks, our travel experience, and many dining options at Walt Disney World during this time. You want to go ahead and check that out. We got a whole playlist for you on this channel. Make sure that you are subscribed to us with that notification bell turned on and that you have that thumbs up button firmly pressed. But here at LAX, lots of travel safety warnings as well as notifications throughout the terminal and overhead announcements encouraging you to keep your 6-foot distance, keep a face mask on at all times, and make sure that you are washing and cleaning your hands. Now, a little bit of context for you here. This is about 12 midnight on Thanksgiving night going into Black Friday. American Airlines originally, I had booked a direct flight with them much earlier this day. However, they switched the flight on me twice and then turned it into a connecting flight, then pushed the time of departure all the way up until 12 midnight. So that was something to get used to. In addition to that, I turned the corner in an otherwise dead LAX to see a very full terminal of other people they did this to, and other people that they were going to cram onto a mega jet and send us to Miami and then have us connect to our other destinations. I, of course, going to Orlando. Many people on board with me mentioned that they were not going to Orlando. In fact, they were forced to go to Miami after being dismissed on their direct flight and told they would be connecting from Miami to their destination. So you see just how packed it is. Once we got on board, this was a mega jet, a 10-seat row across type experience where everybody was really sitting on top of each other because we were all put on this one plane together. It was very uncomfortable. It was absolutely one of the worst flight experiences I've ever had. And I get it. You know, I pushed myself into this situation to want to fly right now. I completely understand that. But it's amazing to me the airlines that show they care by at least offering up middle seats being empty right now versus airlines that don't, kind of like this one. In addition to that, being on board this plane, the sitting on top of each other type situation, very uncomfortable. I've never felt closer to people on a plane than I did this plane, and maybe it was because there were so many of us. At any rate, people are flying again, people are traveling again, and I think it would have been a little bit less intense had we been on our original flights going to our various destinations separately. However, this was a flight that they packed us in on. Here we are now at Miami International Airport. Lots of people traveling, like I mentioned, a lot more people than we saw back in August during our initial trip back to Walt Disney World during their reopening month and a half. And here we are at Miami, ready to board our connecting flight. I did share my disdain with the American Airlines team to let them know just how disappointed I was in the way they had handled this whole repacking and connecting of flights. They did offer some things to take care of me. So to their credit, I appreciate the customer service resolution. Definitely something to note, though, is that lots more people seem to be traveling, more comfortable with traveling right now than they have been in previous months. And this, of course, is leading to people trying to learn how to safely live with this pandemic right now as best they can. It was just a matter of minutes, and we were boarded on our flight, ready to go to Orlando from Miami. This was my first time stopping off in Miami. The airport was nice. That's about all I can say because I didn't veer too far away from the terminal. My flight boarded pretty fast after my original touchdown. Speaking of touchdown, here we are in Orlando. Yes, you can tell already from the airport, can't you? That carpet is such a signature for this airport. Not nearly as wild in terms of crowding as Miami was, but certainly busier than I had anticipated, much busier than I saw back in August. It was time to jump on board that big, beautiful monorail that they have at the airport that takes you from one terminal to another and experience the first ride of Walt Disney World. One thing also worth noting at this airport is social distancing was something everyone seemed to respect. Everybody was wearing masks and washing them hands and applying that hand sanitizer at every corner here at the main terminal. I think it's worth pointing out that where Orlando is located, the county itself has required a mask mandate across the county, even though the state of Florida has thrown out the mandate across the state. They are leaving it up to individual counties and cities, and the county that Disney World resides in is one that requires it still at this point. Disney's Magical Express is where I headed next, down on the ground floor, and you'll see the buses. Many more are waiting for visitors this time. The last time I was here, there was only one or two buses outside. This time around, so many buses were lined up. It's like old times. And speaking of like old times, I walked back into the terminal to jump in line for Magical Express, and I saw this, a line that stretched on and on through this bottom terminal. Now, reminder, everybody is 6 feet apart. There are 6 feet markers on the ground, but this line stretched on forever to check in for Magical Express. Stark contrast from what we saw back in August, just a month after Walt Disney World reopened. When I arrived back in August, it was a walk-on to Disney's Magical Express. Nobody in front of me at that point, but here we were, sort of set up in this makeshift queue all throughout the bottom part of the B-side terminal at Orlando International, stretched all the way back across all this floor space waiting to be checked in at Magical Express. This also told me a lot more people are coming back to Walt Disney World. I could visually see it. A lot more people feeling comfortable returning to the parks at this point with these 6 feet markers in front of us. Now, something also I think that is appropriate to mention here is that there was only one person up at the Magical Express checkpoint that was scanning people in. So I think that played a huge role in this backup. Eventually, they did get some additional help up at the turnstiles there to make sure that everybody was processed a little bit more efficiently. I was told upon arriving to the checkpoint, where they also have many more notices to socially distance, make sure that you are already healthy walking in. They had the plexiglass up in front of each cast member, definitely still taking their precautions, but they did mention that it'd be probably about 45 minutes between the check-in point and, you see the sign there, when the shuttle would be able to pick you up. You'll also notice here, while you are waiting in the queue for your shuttle to board, they do have lots of reminders to keep your distance and to ensure that you are abiding by all of the health and safety precautions that they have put in place. Disney goes into overdrive for this in every section of their business, as we've covered in our prior trip back in August. You'll see a little bit more of that here in this series for the holidays as well. One of the nice things about that 45-minute wait I mentioned was it was non-existent. Everybody kept moving in front of me up and up and up all the way to the checkpoint to board the bus itself. And within, I want to say, maybe 2 minutes of getting into that queue, I was ready to jump on board the Magical Express. And we were headed to the resort in no time. So it's always nice to see a 45-minute wait posted and then have a 2-minute wait in front of you. Very nice indeed. One of the things I wanted to make sure I caught was whether or not Magical Express was still doing what they did back in August, and that is distancing people on the bus. They are, in fact, still doing that. You'll notice rows between people are empty. There's a reason for that. I was the very, very front, and they had rows around me completely empty for just me being my party, and then we were ready to rock and roll, ready to head on in to Disney World property. Of course, there it is, the sight we all long to see. It is time to be officially welcomed home to the Walt Disney World Resort during such a troubling time, such a dark time. It is more special than ever to be able to see this arch, to have this opportunity to be able to drive under this arch, because it means, I think, even more now than it ever has. and it was extra special to come across it this holiday season. And in just a matter of minutes after passing the archway, we rounded a corner to my resort of choice this holiday season, Disney's Coronado Springs. Yeah, the special resort and convention center that is now home to an expansion. If you didn't know, Disney's Coronado Springs, not only a sprawling property, but also a place that went through a bit of a facelift. And with it came an entirely new tower, the Gran Destino Tower. This now acts as the lobby, drop-off area, valet, porte-cochere, you name it. This is home base for Coronado Springs, and my was it beautiful on this arrival day. Absolutely stunning in the sunlight, and lots of Christmas decorations, tastefully appointed, if you will. It was truly awesome to be back at Walt Disney World. Even better to be here during the holiday season. Christmas time at Disney is extra magical. So coming to the most magical place on earth during the most magical time of year, so good. Yeah, I love it. And you see here, not very busy at Coronado Springs, awfully quiet upon arrival. It was very nice. It's like I had the whole resort to myself, a handful of people here and there, but for the most part, very peaceful, very restful retreat type area. And I walked into the lobby and was greeted by red and green colors and this beautiful sort of lantern walkway that led into this grand lobby area full of Christmas trees everywhere. This also is a lobby that has 2 levels to it. So we walk in sort of on level 2, and then there's an additional lobby area just down below us that we're going to see here in a second. It's a gorgeous area to walk into, a beautiful place to arrive to. Absolutely adore the Gran Destino Tower and the lobby in general. This is a place that I have not had an opportunity to visit until now. I know Gran Destino opened a while back, but this is my first time visiting. I wanted to be surprised. I wanted it to be a first impression, and I was wowed. I think it's really cool also that if you look around, all of these areas that you see here where panels are sort of lit up and pillars and walls are lit up, apparently that's interchangeable. They can light it up whatever color they want, and so they go with the season apparently from time to time, and they'll do different things color-wise to sort of go with theming, which I love. And then you see down below that secondary version of the lobbies, so that's also a big bar lounge area. It's really cool to walk in on one level, look down, and see all of that down below. And then this giant Christmas tree that they have here in the lounge bar area on the lower lobby level. And then outside that sprawling, beautiful Springs property. Oh, gosh. This really was a beautiful retreat to dive into, and so many places to see around this resort. And the artwork in Gran Destino Tower lobby is also truly captivating. With Walt and Mickey there, it was something that I was impressed by every step of the way, and really thought that if you're somebody who loves Disney architecture and theming, you're gonna love a resort like this. Now down this long hallway from that lobby to the old lobby, that's right, Disney's Coronado Springs was once lobbied right here. This was the lobby check-in area. I thought it was fascinating because the last time I stayed at this resort was, I think it was 2013 or 2014, before Gran Destino, and during Christmas, so just coincidental. And you see here, this was the lobby area, and now the entire front desk section of the lobby covered up by that wall on the right. Yeah, not too inspired, but just covered up by that wall. So now this is just a giant sort of seating extension of the old lobby, and then it all leads up to this area, which has always existed, Panchito's store and market, and then of course Restaurant Row down that hallway. But this used to be the arrival area where you would be dropped off at. You'd walk in. This would be the original first impression, not Gran Destino Tower. So it's kind of funny. You walk down a long hallway that connects Gran Destino to the old hotel, basically, and the old lobby, and you get to see kind of old and new, right? So what's newly inspired and what inspired it all to begin with. Very cool to be here back in old Coronado Springs. The Spanish stylings of the resort hotel space itself, absolutely stunning in person. And I loved that the Christmas trees and the wreaths and the Christmas decorations kept going even through the old areas. I kind of was concerned about that they would have just focused on all the new stuff and then the old stuff would kind of be forgotten. But this is still very much a space that everybody goes to. It's quite the common area. It's just all spread out now. So like the new tower, they have all the Christmas decorations up, well appointed throughout not only the store here that you see, but also through the various restaurants and locations spread around this giant resort. It is kind of your all-in-one marketplace where you have your food and goodies that you might need for your room, as well as merchandise, toys, that sort of thing. So your all-in-one market. And then right alongside that is your quick service option right now. And I say that because this area, the Rick's Cafe area, this is sort of a makeshift quick service location at the moment. This resort has traditionally a lot of options, but due to the pandemic, many of those options are still closed. So they're in that phased reopening at this point still. The resort isn't full at this point, so they have condensed things down. And Rick's Cafe here, this is an area where now it's a makeshift quick service location. So this is where you come to grab your danishes, your coffee, your soda and refillable drinks, that sort of thing. They've got it all stacked up for you right there next to the general store area. And then another hallway. It is a resort of hallways, kind of like they just kept building on to the resort as they went, and another hallway to walk down. This leads you to the place that would have traditionally been your quick service location. The giant, sprawling quick service location that we're used to in a Disney resort. El Mercado De Coronado is what they call it. This also was something themed differently the last time I was here. So this is traditionally the place you would come to get all your quick service goodies. That's why it's so big. Traditionally, quick service locations in Disney resorts are huge. You see here, though, the gates are closed. They just can't justify it, given the fact that there are so few people at the resort at the moment. Therefore, they're not going to open up a multi-storefront quick service location that has all kinds of options when they can condense it down, save a lot of money, and just have one or two people run it, rather than have, chefs and cooks and food preps and all those people back in each of these storefronts that would have traditionally been in the quick service area. Now, directly across from those gates that were closed in the quick service area is a table service option, the Rick's Sports Bar and Grill. This area is open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Definitely a location that is offering up some good grub and very reasonably priced. The table service option here in the main lobby tower area, the main lobby section of the resort, El Centro as they call it. So this place definitely has some great grub, very reasonably priced. Like I said, one of the few table service options that they have open at the resort at the moment. I dove in, I grabbed myself some lunch here. We'll be talking about it in just a little bit. I was impressed, and there's lots of bars at this resort. I think that's something worth mentioning. It is a convention resort, so lots and lots of convention space here. Big, huge property with, I think, some of the most convention space in all of Florida at this resort. And so obviously not a whole lot going on in terms of conventions at the moment, but this resort was built for business people, and you'll see it in the rooms. You'll see it because there are bars everywhere you go. So there's lots and lots of alcohol being offered at this resort in general in traditional times. But as of right now, just a few bars that are open, some with restricted hours. Further down that hallway that I was talking about, yeah, it keeps going. The Maya Grill. This is their sort of sit-down, upscale table service dining location, not open for service at this point, still part of the phased reopening process where it is not online. Unfortunately, not able to try it out because it isn't open yet. Just outside of the Maya Grill and El Centro, you kind of get an idea as to just how vast this resort is. There really is so much space here, and it's nice for a retreat, that's for certain. It does have its own internal bus system because it's that big, so we'll dive into that in a couple of minutes, but I wanted to mention it because you just kind of get an idea as to how far stretched all of these different places in which you can stay are across this one hotel property. So there's all these clusters of individual sections of rooms that are dedicated to the overall theming of Disney's Coronado Springs. One thing that I really liked, though, is that when I stayed back here in 2013-2014 holiday season, this was a place that I thought, man, It's so big, it's so gigantic, it just feels like you walk forever to get anywhere and to do anything. I don't feel that way anymore. And I like that they've been able to make it feel a little bit more cohesive and closer together. And I think the reason why it feels that way is because the tower exists now. The tower stretches out and sort of curves around towards one big section of rooms. So now between that and El Centro, where all the amenities are and restaurants and goodies, that stretches one direction, the tower stretches the other direction, so it doesn't feel like you're all that far away anymore, which is a very nice plus. Pretty cool that they were able to do that. But I wanted you to get an idea, not just of the natural beauty here, but I wanted to take a look at a map to show you just kind of how things are laid out and how expansive it all is. You have the Ranchos section of the resort where you can stay in that cluster of rooms. You have the Cabanas area. You also have El Centro, where we just were. Where I am at this point is the Casitas, and Casitas is right next to El Centro, so it's sort of the preferred wing. If you're not in the tower itself of Gran Destino, Casitas is the other preferred section because it's right alongside El Centro. I think one of the big pluses about Disney's Coronado Springs is that the entire property is around a giant body of water, and that giant body of water is basically visible from any cluster of rooms you might be staying in. So it makes it very serene, very peaceful, and quite relaxed, which is exactly what a resort experience should be like. Now you see here my Casitas cluster of rooms that I'm staying in. This is right next to the body of water that I was talking about, so beautiful spring views. And then beyond that is the section of El Centro that leads back to Gran Destino. So all of this, very well connected, very easy to get to, and that's kind of the layout of where my room is versus where all the amenities are. This other piece that I want to show you, just beautifully manicured. The whole area is stunning. It is a retreat, and that's what I love about a Disney resort. It captivates you, takes you away in its story, and the unsung heroes of every Disney park and resort, that's the horticulture team. The unsung heroes are the members of those horticulture teams. So thank you for what you do. We take it for granted, and you make these places beautiful. We can't thank you enough for that. And then a look out from my balcony there, a restaurant out in the middle of the water, the bridges that connect to it. We'll be heading out there to explore in a little bit. You also see Gran Destino Tower in the distance, all to give you a perspective of what I was seeing off of my balcony in general, as to just how close I was to the waterfront. And then it's time to show you the room. Now, I want to share first and foremost, before we dive in, the resort itself, they text messaged me 3.5 hours before check-in time to let me know that they knew I was on property because of my magic band, which is creepy, I guess, if you look at it that way. But they knew I was already there, and they kept sending me updates saying, "We know you're here. You don't even have to come to the front desk. As soon as your room's available, we'll let you in. It's fine." They sent me my room number and said, "Use your magic band, get on in there," 3.5 hours before I even had to check in. Before I could even check in, they automatically just let me go to my room. And after a late night flight like I had just had and a connecting flight, I was tired. I couldn't wait to get into my room. So that was a wonderful gesture. Thank you, Disney. And I didn't even have to talk to anybody. It all came via my phone and my Disney Experience app. You see here the interior of this room, very much a refreshed atmosphere, a place that looks very different than what I was used to from my last trip to Coronado Springs many years ago. Everywhere you turn, there are various indicators that they have gone the extra mile in these rooms to ensure that each item is specifically deep cleaned, that you feel completely comfortable in this atmosphere. Lots of indications, not just of how deep cleaned they've gone. There are pamphlets, there are notices throughout this entire resort that indicate what they've done to ensure health and safety is being met and all the standards are very high. You see here this little book light that I thought was really cool. It pulls right out of the bedpost. So if you are in bed, need a little reading light, you just pull on that and instantly it turns on. A Keurig. This is something I'd love to see in every Disney resort hotel room. Like, how come there isn't one in every hotel room? Oh my gosh. It's so great to see all the fixins here and a Keurig inside a Disney resort hotel room. for the amount that you pay for a Disney Resort hotel room, whether it is bottom basement value resorts or the biggest and most deluxe resort, every room deserves a Keurig if you're staying at Disney. So it was nice to see that. Also, the refrigerator underneath here disguised to look like it's part of the bottom shelving unit. Of course, a business chair in which to work off of. And then one of the things that I really liked about this entire setup was that it's clearly meant for somebody who's here for a convention. It's clearly meant for somebody that has work in mind, which is cool because when I am going to Disney World, I'm usually working a lot. I definitely have a ton of things that I'm trying to do at any one time. So having this setup is really nice and a great nod to the fact that they realize most people that are coming to probably stay at this resort, well, they're probably coming for conventions and therefore they need some additional space. On my TV screen immediately, health and safety reminders for the resort. This ran on a loop until I turned the channel to indicate what they're doing to keep us safe and protected. Power outlets everywhere, including jacks for your phones. These were all over the place next to the bed as well. And then you see the enhanced cleaning breakdown of everything that they've done to go out of their way to ensure you feel entirely safe and comfortable while visiting this room. Everything in here is tastefully appointed, very much a professional aura to it. And then, of course, a touch of Disney whimsy with the towels in the Hidden Mickey style. I loved seeing that. Always adds to the ambiance. And then these barn doors. This is really cool. So not only do they have this giant sort of door-sized mirror along the right side of the room for anybody that might be professionally dressing for a business conference or something like that to look at themselves in. But also these barn doors are pretty darn neat. I liked these. I thought it was a nice touch, especially since the last time that I remember staying here. Pretty sure it was like a curtain. Pretty sure that there was not a door in the way. And so it's nice to have that to section off the rooms. And then I love the way that the bathroom was set up also. Lots of storage space in the bathroom, a ton of storage space in this bathroom. And so that was something that was really cool because, again, thinking sort of terms of a business person staying here, you're going to need a lot of space for your clothes and for your business attire. And that they had 2 sinks in a room like this, chef's kiss. That is so cool because imagine you're staying here with your honey and you want to get ready the same time they do. You got yourself 2 sinks in which to get ready on at the same time. And then inside, also these cabinets, additional space for all your knickknacks and for your goodies for the bathroom environment. And then one of the other nice things that I saw here, all kinds of extras. So whether it be the shower cap or the added amenities of mouthwash or the vanity kit, you had some extras that were thrown in here that you don't typically see in other places at the Disney resorts. Nice to see that these were added into the mix. It is a moderate resort by comparison. So something that I probably forgot to mention was what type of resort it is. It is a moderate resort. It does have deluxe overtones to it, though. This resort in particular kind of feels like there are a few more nods to the deluxe hotel environment at Disney, which to me kind of makes it feel like I'm getting a good deal. That's for certain. And now inside the restroom itself, a lovely zero entry shower with these big glass panel encasings going floor to ceiling. One of the other really nice things that I'm noticing they are doing at Disney World is when they go in and rehab rooms, and this is from the value resorts all the way up to the deluxe, when they're rehabbing these rooms, they're redoing the showers and putting in these rainfall shower heads that are just heavenly. Really, they are my favorite thing about Disney World resort rooms now. And you see just how little the entry is to get in here to the shower itself. Much like the rest of the resorts, these extra deep cleaned pump handle shampoos and conditioners for you, as well as body washes. And then you see, as we take a look up, not just the overhead shower rainfall mechanism, but you also have the separate handle there on the right. That's also something that's a really nice touch because not everybody wants to just have the rainfall shower head up above. When you have those hard to reach places, sometimes you do need that handle grabber. So very nice, very helpful to have both of those. And the room itself is stunningly beautiful. I am thoroughly impressed with not only the bathroom setup and the 2 sinks, but also the barn doors to separate the room entirely. And then the room itself has a lot of deluxe overtones. Still a pretty small room by other hotel comparisons, but for the most part, loved the touches, loved how fresh, clean, and just how nice the entire room felt. Everything felt new and crisp and like they had just redone it or something. So I like it when I go into a room that feels that way. We are stepping outside of the cluster of Casitas rooms now to take a look around the property and get to know things a little bit. This, of course, is right next to the Casitas cluster of rooms. This is where they remind you to not only keep your distance, but make sure you're wearing those masks when you're not swimming. But if you are, you can remove them. This, my friends, is the Casitas Pocket Pool. So this is the little pool that is located next to the cluster of rooms. The grand pool we will be getting to here in just a moment. But this is a private pool off to the side for just our cluster of rooms. And then the giant bridge that leads out to that restaurant that we keep seeing in all of my water shots. We are gonna venture on out to it and look at it ourselves. Now, it's not open during this time of the day, but this, I have it on good authority and based on all that I heard each night, this entire bar and setup out here is quite the happening place to be. This, of course, is Via del Lago. Yes, a location that everybody ventured out to in the evening hours to enjoy themselves a little bit of food and a little bit of spirits. It is a beautiful setup and lots of outdoor areas in which to sit on and in, and you get the glory of all of the springs around you right out in the middle of that giant body of water. A brief glimpse at all of the offerings that they have on their menu, from their wines to their beers to their seltzers to their cocktails. They got it all out here. Lots and lots of, well, let's just say, if Tyler and Katrina from my Kingdom Report live show were with me at this venue, they would be having themselves a wonderful time. Those two know their drinks, and it's a big part of their life. They love their custom drinks. I think they'd be enjoying that location quite a bit. Up and around the corner, we do have an entire recreation area. This was open. People were able to get out there and play. There was nobody doing the volleyball at this time. However, yet another bar, Siestas, a location where you could grab a drink and get some grub right here alongside the dig site pool. The dig site is the gigantic anchor pool of the entire resort. This location, definitely a place where you could, go off, have yourself a nice afternoon, and then head on back to your room for a beautiful afternoon nap, maybe if you wanted to rest. But everything sort of giving a nod to like the Mayan temple. It's really cool to see this pyramid-shaped icon right smack in the middle of the pool, and you have an idea as to just how large this pool is. They were monitoring how many people were in at any given time, and they capped capacity. In fact, while I was there, I heard one of the lifeguards even say, we've reached capacity. Unfortunately, you're going to have to wait until other people leave to a party that had just arrived. There really isn't that many people at this pool. So that just goes to show you that they are taking these health and safety precautions very seriously and doing what they can to ensure that everybody is spaced out appropriately and that they're doing their part to ensure that everybody's getting their health on the right way. Speaking of getting your health on, the Iguana Arcade was not open at this time, so those high-touch areas, definitely something they're trying to limit. As I understand it, most arcades across the property are still closed. And then you do see kind of one of those general play areas. This area, I didn't see any kids really playing in for the most part. It was lightly attended. However, there was one or two that were still enjoying it, so it was like they had the playground to themselves, which I thought was pretty cool. You get an idea as to the dig site here and just how much there is to do around the main pool. Really cool, all these activities, all these things that were, for the most part, online, and everybody was able to do. And the theming in this resort is just so neat. Everywhere you go, there's additional nods to the overall theming, and like I said, the mix of new and old doesn't clash here. In fact, it complements each other. So again, I was kind of worried I was going to see a clash between the Grandestino ritziness and then the sort of old school Coronado Springs of yesteryear really clash, and the theme would be lost or the story wouldn't be as cool. It definitely still sets in. And now, up and around the corner from the dig site, you see some directional signage letting us know that, hey, there's a lot of places in which we could go, and we are heading to the Rancho Casitas and Cabanas area. This is an entirely different cluster of rooms, different theme, and a different setup entirely. You see here, I mean, it kind of looks like we're at a different resort, right? Like, very different from where I was just staying and my room and what it looked like. The buildings are very different. That's what Disney does better than anybody. The theming in each location is pretty darn great, and it does feel like you're captivated and visiting like an entirely different town, you know, at this resort. I think that's one of the nice hallmarks of Disney, is that you walk away going, man, I feel like I've been on a journey and I didn't even have to grab myself a passport. You know, it's pretty neat to be able to experience that. Here at the Cabanas area, you do see lots of walkways, lots of areas up and around the main waterfront. You also have a sandy beach that you can go enjoy. Definitely did not have a sandy beach in front of my cluster of rooms, so you can grab yourself a hammock and relax. I did see some people doing that, really enjoying the low 80s and high 70s of the holiday week, because it is still Central Florida, let's not forget. And then back behind these cluster of rooms, you do have ample parking. So I always like to make a point to show that too. Lots and lots of parking dedicated to these various room wings and these sections, so that you know you can pull up right behind your room and still walk in from sort of the rear of the section of rooms and not really have to worry about, you know, lugging everything in from, say, the lobby area parking lot. So this definitely has a lot of space, this resort, and allows for, well, lots of convenience. That's for certain when it comes to parking near where you're staying. And then, of course, as I had mentioned, the internal bus stop system. Each cluster of rooms has its own internal bus stop back behind the rooms. So this area, again, back behind the rooms, back behind the parking lot, you do have your own internal buses that will take you from stop to stop around the resort. Or this is also the place that you would hop on a bus to take you to a theme park. So Hollywood Studios is pulling up right now. If I was heading there, I would jump on. But Disney's Coronado Springs does sort of tell you that, hey, if you're looking to get to various locations around the property itself, here's what you need to do. Otherwise, jump on board the specific theme park buses that you're interested in, and they will whisk you away to those various theme parks. So, a huge resort, a beautiful resort, and a resort that if you've never stayed here, might I encourage you to do so. Definitely worth your time. When you do jump on a bus, worth mentioning here, they are still social distancing all the seats, and the drivers are still pointing out where you need to sit. So before you can board, you tell them how many in your party, they'll give you a section to sit in, and you'll notice the dividers between all the seats so that you are kept distanced from everybody else. This, of course, is being practiced in buses across Walt Disney World right now. Meanwhile, back inside, I was getting hungry, wanted to take a look at some of the offerings that they had online in terms of food and beverage. Reminder, not everything is in action right now, but I figured I would head on down to the old building, El Centro, and stop by Rick's Sports Bar and Grill. Remember, this is the table service dining location that serves breakfast, lunch, and dinner right now. I didn't need a reservation, however, I made one within just a couple minutes of arriving. I do it as a courtesy, but again, you don't need it. The bar and grill, especially in the middle of the day, very, very empty. And much like other restaurants right now at Disney World, they're asking you to scan the QR code, which would bring up a digital menu. However, they offered me a paper menu at the same time, so I went ahead and went with that. Of course, much of the menu here is geared towards the bar and grill crowd, so you're going to see your burgers, your soup salads, your sandwiches, your finger foods, and of course, all the alcohol you could possibly want, your draft beers, your wine, your signature cocktails, even your hard liquor, all kinds of goodies here for you. It is definitely geared towards the business people that would be just attending the conventions a few feet away at the convention center during typical times. The restaurant itself, very classy, very elegant, definitely an upscale bar and grill area. It kind of feels like the entire place was shoehorned in, almost like it wasn't meant to be what it is today. Couldn't find much history on it. My server didn't know the backstory of the restaurant, unfortunately, so definitely feels a little different, kind of like things are just shoehorned in for the sake of space. And also, I thought this was kind of interesting. In all dining locations right now, anything that might be considered high touch, like condiments, say a ketchup bottle, they've removed from the table and instead are giving you your own little platters of, say, ketchup packets, or your own little platters of salt and pepper specific to you. I did go with my starter. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the Rick's Salad. Spring mix, cucumbers, tomatoes, seasonal fruit, and crumbled goat cheese tossed with my choice of dressing. Decided to go with ranch, and this is indeed something that I found quite refreshing. The apples mixed in with the spring mix was far better than I thought it was going to be. Seeing apples kind of didn't excite me, but then mixed it all together. Turned out to be fantastic. That was half a salad, and it ended up being $7 in total. Then I went with the Big Daddy, the Rick's Reuben sandwich, marbled rye bread, pastrami, sauerkraut, Swiss cheese, and Thousand Island dressing. It was served with my choice of a side. I went with the seasoned waffle fries, and then, of course, that big old slab of pickle there. Got to admit, with all of the ingredients, the presentation, the quantity of food, this was pretty stellar for the price. $17.50, very reasonable by Disney park standards, of course. And my server was on top of absolutely everything. Again, the restaurant was not busy at all, so I had drinks before I even finished my first beverage. Boom, drinks were replaced, and I was taken care of well in advance. They made sure of that. So if you ever get an opportunity to dine at Rick's Bar and Grill, I would say go for it. Great place to pick up a meal at Disney's Coronado Springs Resort, and one of their few table service options on tap at the moment. Now, here at Walt Disney World in Pandemic Holiday Edition, one thing we always do during this series is we rate whether or not something is safe and comfortable. So we certainly want to do that here. The stay at Disney's Coronado Springs was indeed a wonderful stay. From a safety standpoint, they were constantly cleaning public spaces, even areas that were just cleaned, they would go back and clean again. I watched that happen. There were more custodial cast members, more housekeeping cast members that I saw at this resort than any other type of cast member. They were in every public space, making sure that every square inch of the location was deep cleaned. There is a no contact check-in here that is remarkable. Again, everything done through my digital device. I didn't have to stand in groups of people unnecessarily, didn't have to go to the front desk for anything. All done with the My Disney Experience app. And then for any dining locations that you want to go into here, they do temp check you to make sure that you aren't exhibiting any symptoms since you're outside the theme parks and you're not being temp checked anywhere else. They do it at the dining locations just to make sure. From a comfort level, I will say lots of lounges, lots of open spaces in this resort that I thought was pretty awesome. Multiple pools and distanced activities, so really allows you the opportunity to spread out and enjoy yourself. And then on top of that, just an incredibly relaxed atmosphere. Everywhere you go, the springs and the various ponds, and just the whole atmosphere is dedicated to making you feel like you are somewhere else, right? A total customized retreat into a different world, and they nail it. The theming is over the top, and every square inch of the place, since it's so big, you feel completely captivated, completely taken away, and it was so quiet, so that comfort level really was something that got high marks from me. Now, is it worth it? Overall, we paint that big picture. I will tell you that this resort is so gigantic, right? It's so big with that internal bus system even. It's so big it feels private, and that's because obviously at a capacity level, they're not even filling all the rooms. So this place was designed to handle a lot of people, and right now it's not necessary. They're not doing it. So it's very quiet. It feels like your own resort. Pricing is higher than normal. This was a $339 room, and typically it's in the upper twos, so they are sort of charging you for that variance when it comes to not filling everything to capacity. And then when it comes to this resort in general, the rooms This is a moderate resort, but with deluxe amenities to be sure. So lots of deluxe type resort offerings and things here that you wouldn't find in other moderates, and I think that really has to do to the fact that they are catering to the business person crowd, so you get a couple more extras on top of it. So if you have an opportunity to stay at Disney's Coronado Springs at any time of the year, I would say absolutely go for it. This was a spectacular trip, and I adored staying here. I will be back to stay again. Well, my friends, remember, if you haven't done so already, this is part of a much larger series, the Disney World in Pandemic series, where we cover all the theme parks, and right now, all of the holidays at Walt Disney World during this very unique time. Make sure that you are subscribed to us, that notification bell turned on, and that you've hit that thumbs up button if you appreciate what you see. Remember, we've got lots more coming your way for Walt Disney World in Pandemic Holiday Edition. For the Kingdom Report, I'm Wade Heath. We'll see you next time for an all-new installment of Walt Disney World in Pandemic.